Hello, learners. Now we will talk about dyscalculia. Children with dyscalculia find learning math in a classroom situation particularly difficult. They have trouble adding and subtracting, memorizing times tables, and tackling more challenging word problems. Also, this learning difficulty presents many challenges that affect a student's daily life beyond the classroom walls. I have with me Ms. Priya Bhomik, a dyscalculia specialist. Let's hear her experiences and learn some strategies to help children with this specific learning difficulty in your classroom.
When I started my career as a special educator and then specializing in dyslexia, dyscalculia, and ASD, I realized that there are so many things that is so crucial for our day-to-day living, which is linked with maths, and where the gap lies. The gap lies at the fact is that we often don't teach them to understand maths. We work on teaching them how to solve a mathematical equation or a mathematical problem that has been presented to them. And so they don't really know how to manipulate the numbers. What is that concept? What does the number mean? What is the feel of it? So as a teacher or as a parent, the first thing that you need to make sure you do is teach them to understand. Please teach them to understand the number concept. Just writing tens and units and 1, 0 where the positions are is not enough to help them build that confidence. So teach them the concept of place value, making sure that they're writing it properly. It is very crucial. That is the first step. Get them the concept of number, how the numbers are formed, how they're bonded to create another number. So like I often come across students who have been diagnosed with dyscalculia giving me things like, if I say, okay, 1 and 1. If I say 1 and 1, yes, it can be 11. They're right in a way. Or 2 or 0. So be very specific about the mathematical term you're using with them. So what do you want them to do with those two numbers? So you be very specific about the number terms. Listen to them, watch them, listen how they're solving the problem. If you have given them a maths task, observe them, ask them to talk you through their mathematical journey of problem solving, and you'll pick up on the wrong terms they're using, and you'll know where the concept lies. I often get kids saying, 19 take away 27. So are you taking away 27 from 19? So encourage them to say it correctly. Be empathetic, be patient. Remember, if they have got a diagnosis of dyscalculia or dyslexia, they have got weak short-term working memory. So for them to process the information, understand what you have said, doing that calculation mentally, retrieving it from somewhere deep inside, they know it, but to retrieve that information and then actually presenting it on paper, it's a huge journey. If you come to think of it, if I take you through the journey of this, which is like, okay, as a teacher, you have given them a sum. So you have said 2, add 2. So for them, they have to get the concept of 2, which probably they have used counters earlier on when you have been working on developing the concept. Now transferring those 2 counters to the number which is looking like a 2, then remembering addition, which they often confuse with multiplication. And remember 2 add 2 and 2 times 2 gives the same answer. So that adds to the confusion even more. And then doing the calculation, if they're using counters or number lines or number rods or base 10, numicon, anything, that's fine. But if we are expecting them to do it mentally, 2 add 2, we expect them to know it. Doing that calculation, then retrieving that information. Now the next bit is putting it on the paper, trying to remember what does that number 4 look like, and then writing it down. That's a huge journey. Might not be for some of the students of their age or some of the teachers, but might be a big journey. In fact, if they have got other comorbid issues like dysgraphia, dyspraxia, dyslexia, ADHD, ASD, fine motor skill deficits, any kind of issues, that journey gets even longer. So be empathetic. Just be patient. Do not rely on rote learning. Don't say that them, oh, learn them by heart. Yeah, they'll mask it. They'll mask it. They'll know the time. If they have got strong long-term memory, they're very able. I've seen them masking their difficulties like this by just rote learning everything, and then just like you know, taking it out on the paper. But that's not really a mathematical concept being developed. I often see them in secondary age where they know 2 times 2 is 4, but when it's the application, they don't know how to apply because they haven't got the concept yet. So make sure that they understand the concept. Do not get them to be dependent on rote learning. Remember one thing, they know they're struggling. And because often they get the message that it's okay to be weak in maths, they like take it in. So yeah, it's all right, it's cool. Especially in the secondary age. They do everything to stay away from maths. Yeah. Help them to manage their failures. Do not talk about their failures. One thing that I've seen work really well with many of my dyscalculic learners is I give them sums. When they've done something wrong, I ask them to identify where if they have got it wrong or right. If they've got it wrong, I praise them for being able to identify what the mistakes are. And then I help them to correct it. But getting them to feel the success in failure is like, oh, see, you have managed to identify where you have gone wrong. And that is one of the biggest steps. So well done for that. Now we can learn. So once you know what you're getting wrong, we can fix it. So that often helps them a lot to understand, again, to consolidate their learning. Make maths meaningful. This is really important because maths is our day-to-day living. Show them how they're used. I had a very interesting incident recently where I went to the shop with a child and I gave her some change because it was a real life learning. I gave her some money and said, okay, can you go and buy this thing? And she came back and she said, I am rich. I said, how? Because I gave the man the money and he gave me back some money. I said, well, we did the maths, money concept, then change, how much money you will get back, all those things. Yes, she got them right on paper, but the application part went haywire. And then I said, oh, do you know that this is what we have done? And then she looked at me and said, but when we go to the shop, we use card, we don't use money. Why are we doing maths here? And the entire concept was like, okay, so it was all jumbled up. Post pandemic, we don't use cash very frequently. Many shops don't want to use cash. So yeah, making it meaningful. Get them involved in cooking. Anything you're doing. If you're going to buy a furniture, let's measure it. If you're into DIY, get them to see which one will fit there. Puzzles. So all those sort of things are really, really important. And so just make sure that you're making it meaningful. Show them patterns. This is very important. It's not about like, okay, what comes after this. But if you're solving something like 9 times table, I find it quite interesting to teach them. And often one of the students said, you know what, when I learned my 9 times tables, because it's a big number and I learned the times tables, it made me feel that I can do anything. Because the pattern or the trick for 9 times tables was, how it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then you go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And so he just like, sorry, yeah, this and this. And then we did the 2 times tables. And once he got, I don't know how it worked, but it worked for him. And actually quite a lot of that, they did it. And then they, on their own, they try to find the patterns in the timetables and the number bonds and all. And that kind of made it more meaningful. And let them figure out a way to learn. But make sure that is actually, that it has got a, that can be transferred. Do not let them be a short-term pattern and they'll just do it like this all the time. Explain why and show why. That's what I was coming to. That just do it like this. because then what they do is they figure out another thing that will work like that, and it becomes quite difficult. Like one thing that often I hit a stumble on and we have to go back over is when you introduce algebra and you go a square and 2a, and if you by mistake give the value of a to be 2, good luck, or 3, so that can become a bit of a problem. So just make sure that you try to create it as clear as possible, no room for confusion.
Thank you very much for your inputs, Shripriya.